Hey guys, in today's video I want to go over what is coming up next for PUBG on Xbox One and PS4. As you all probably know, recently we got official update number 5 for both Xbox One and PS4, which gave us some new additions like night mode, the new SMG called the Bison, a whole boatload of bug fixes and performance upgrades. Whether or not those upgrades were enough is a topic for a different video entirely, but we got a lot in that patch. But what is next up on the list? What is still to come for the game on console? We could just look at the latest patch on PC. And this is update number 26 for the PC, and update 25 had a lot of what we had on update number 5 for the console version of the game. Update 26 contains a lot of the same things that we'll be getting for update 6 on console. Now there's 3 additions to the game that we can look forward to in the next content update, 2 of them being vehicles and 1 being a weapon of sorts. So let's go ahead and get into everything that should be included with the next content update. There's a new vehicle called the Zima, and this is a new Vikendi exclusive vehicle that will spawn in place of the UAZ. So the UAZ will no longer spawn on Vikendi, instead we'll have this Zima, which is very similar. It's just fits more into this environment, fits more with the map itself. It's not going to control as well as a snowmobile or anything like that in the snow, but it will control much better than a Dacia or UAZ would have on this map. And you could pretty much treat it as a UAZ. It's not the fastest car in the field, but it does have high durability, making it a good vehicle to drive around in as a squad. Another vehicle that's being added with the next content update probably is the snow bike, and this is also a Vikendi exclusive vehicle, obviously because it's the only snow map. It will replace the motorbikes on Vikendi, so yeah, we'll no longer have the UAZ or the motorbikes on Vikendi at all. Instead we'll have the Zima and the snow bike. And like a motorbike, this thing can be blown up pretty quickly, but it does have very high speed and great handling on the snow, just like a snowmobile. But even better since it's this solo bike. But the vehicles aren't really that big of a deal. Of course, they're pretty cool to drive around in, and they fit better with the environment on Vikendi. But that's only one map. That doesn't affect the game all that much. The biggest addition for the next content patch is the flare gun. Now, I'm sure you guys have seen stuff on the flare gun just watching some of the PC gameplay. They even had it on some event modes way back when, and it was added on the PTS where it was just spawning in the world, just on normal matches, but they pushed it to the live servers with update 26. And so I suspect with the next content update for PUBG on Xbox One and PS4, we'll also be getting the flare gun. But what does that mean? What does the flare gun do for you? Let me just read from the patch notes of update 26 on the PC so we can learn everything we need to know about the flare gun. Flare guns will be available in public matches and can be found as a rare item spawning in the world. If you're lucky enough to find a flare gun, fire it directly into the air after the initial blue zone has closed to call in a special care package. When firing the flare gun inside the current safe zone, you'll call in a special care package with lots of loot. And for solos and duos, this will include 1 care package weapon along with an ammo. It's just like finding an airdrop. You get 1 care package weapon with ammo, full level 3 gear, and maybe 1 or 2 attachments. If you're in squads, you'll get 2 care package weapons, so this is very valuable to have in any game mode, obviously. Now, if you fire the flare gun when you're outside the initial safe zone, you will call in an armored UAZ, and this thing is a tank, basically. So it's a normal UAZ, but it has these bars all over the windows, it has some parts covering parts of the wheels, so it makes it more durable, and it's very hard to shoot people through the barred windows. You hit the bars a lot. Wacky Jackie just had a really good video on it going over how much damage it takes compared to the regular UAZs, how hard it is to shoot people when they're in it, and he mentioned in there that the best way to take one of these things down is just to shoot the wheels, shoot the tires, and try and limit the mobility of this thing because you're not really going to blow it up unless you concentrate fire on it really well. So yeah, if you're inside the safe zone and you fire this thing off, it's going to give you the care package with the weapons just like it normally would. If you're outside the current safe zone, when you fire it off, you'll get an armored UAZ. And it'll be important to remember that if you find a flare gun, don't fire it until the zone closes completely for the first zone, because if you fire it before then, you're not going to get anything and you wasted your flare gun. Now, when this was first announced on this patch for the PC, they had some indicators on the screen. They actually showed some text that said someone around you is shooting off a flare gun and it's being delivered. There was a big, huge icon on the map showing you a general area where this thing will land. But based off player feedback, they've made some changes, so I'm going to skip that part of the patch notes and I'm going to go through some of the changes that they made for the PC already based off of player feedback. So first and foremost, there were way too many flare guns. They said it was extremely rare and, you're really lucky to find one. Maybe, you'd think 2 or 3 on the map completely. I was watching some streamers play when this first came out, and there was like 10 flares going off on one map, and it seemed to be a common thing. Choco Taco was playing, I think he had 3 flare gun rounds. I mean, he just was running around. He didn't really use them, but he was able to find them no problem. It seemed like wherever he landed, he was able to find at least one flare gun. So obviously that's not the case. It's not going to be in every single building, but there were way too many, and you could just hear them going off everywhere. So they made some changes. They made it much more rare for them to find, and I think they're going to be rolling out those changes soon to the PC. They also removed the map icons and the on-screen text alerting the players that the flare guns have been shot off. So instead of, getting that alert and finding it on the map, all you'll have to do really is just listen for it, because you can hear the flare going off and you can see it in the sky, and then you can see the planes coming over. So I mean, it was kind of overkill saying somebody shot off a flare. Well, yeah, no kidding, I heard it. And then it's in this general area, but you can see a flare and you can see a plane fly over, and he drops this giant, huge package, either with the armored UAZ or the special care package. So I mean, it was blatantly obvious where this thing was going to be delivered, at least in a general sense. So the map indicators and the on-screen text was just unnecessary. Unless maybe you were in a building and you didn't see, but you could easily just go out and see. I've played some public matches where I've seen some flares being shot off on Xbox, and yeah, you could hear them. You can hear them go off, and then you can see the flare in the distance, so you know where it is. You don't need special map indicators to tell you. But this is definitely good to see, at least that they're listening to player feedback. And, as much as Xbox players were kind of beta testers for PS4 players, in some regard, PC players are kind of beta testing for the console players, because they're getting the things before us. They're able to give their feedback, and it's a much larger player base, so they probably have a lot of varied opinions on this. They said in the trailer that I watched for the flare gun that this was a highly requested thing. They made it seem like everybody wanted it, but I don't think that that's the case. At least maybe not the people that I pay attention to, or the ones that I follow either on Twitter or on YouTube. It didn't seem like this was a very valid argument that this was a wanted thing. Maybe for, a different player base that I'm not following, like I said, but I think for the competitive type of player that wants to win, plays for the win, doesn't necessarily just play for kills, this is kind of a weird thing, and I don't necessarily like it. So it'd be nice to have, obviously, but when you shoot off that flare, you're going to get a lot of attention. People are going to flock towards you and try and steal your loot, and most times I think it's just going to get you either injured or get one of your teammates killed, and it's just not going to be worth it in the end. But who knows, maybe you shoot it off, you're in a remote area, you get your armored UAZ, and then you're good to go for a little bit for the match. Or maybe there's not a lot of people around you and you're able to shoot it off and get your weapons really quick, or you can just defend yourself and you'll be fine. It'll be interesting to see how this plays on Xbox and on PS4, and hopefully we'll just get these PC adjustments just like they are requesting when it does come live to the console version of the game. I envision maybe, the flare guns getting taken out eventually completely, or they're very, very rare, maybe just 1 or 2 on the entire map, just because I feel like there's a pretty big outcry for the removal of these, because I think a lot of players that actually play to win this game don't necessarily like it. It kind of brings me to the Vikendi Secret Cave. So if you guys haven't heard about the Secret Cave at all, there's a spot on Vikendi where you enter into this cave from 3 different points, and what you have to do is either drive a vehicle through these boulders, and there's 3 spots on the map that you can actually do this. You drive into the boulders to break through, and then you can either drive in or you can run in, and then there's actually 2 care package crates inside the cave. If you're lucky enough to find a vehicle right off the jump, get over there, crash through, and then get these items, you have a really good chance of making it through the match. And you have a 1-up on just about everybody, at least for the first 5 or 6 minutes, because the plane does not come through with a care package for 5 or 6 minutes. So that gives you a very distinct advantage. So I mean, it is a risk and reward type thing. You're risking it all by going to this cave. You will probably have a lot of resistance there. I tried a couple matches last night with my buddy, and we tried to go through there. Unfortunately, we were late. We didn't get there in time. So by the time we got down there, it had already been looted and the guys had already taken off. They weren't even waiting around for anybody to come, because they just wanted to get out of there with their level 3 gear, and they wanted to have that advantage throughout the whole match. You can also get in there by throwing a grenade at the boulders and blowing them up. We did that one time as well. But again, by the time we got down there, it was already looted, so we basically didn't gain anything by going there. Finding 2 care packages in some cave, rather than going after an airdrop that's dropping from the sky, where everybody can see you and you're completely exposed. And it's much more lucrative in the Vikendi cave. So yeah, if you haven't tried this at all yet, maybe give it a shot. See if you can get in there and get lucky enough to find these weapons before anyone else. You might rack up a lot of kills that way, and you might get killed a lot trying to do it. So just fair warning. But I think the flare gun is going to be something very similar to that. At least the flare gun has a lot more risk to it because you shoot up a flare, you give away your position to basically everyone on the map because they can see the flare and they can hear it going off. So I think there's definitely more risk to the reward on the flare gun than something like the Vikendi secret cave. But that's probably what we're going to be getting on the next content update for PUBG on PS4 and Xbox One. The vehicles, who really cares about that? They do fit in with the map a lot better, and I think they'll be better than the UAZ and the motorbike. But the flare gun is what interests me, and it's what scares me the most because if they mess it up, it could drastically change the way the game plays. And I think that's what we're seeing on PC. A lot of players aren't happy with it, and so that's why they're making these changes. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Are you excited for these changes? Are you excited for the flare gun, or do you think it's kind of stupid? Hit the like button if you found the video useful, and make sure to subscribe to stay up to date on everything that I publish. Make sure to follow me on Twitter and join my Discord. Those links are in the description. But with that being said, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. Until next time, I'll see you later.